we are back for another season of Arise and Shine Stories of Triumph. So I need you to share this because when I tell you, you've been seeing me post about it, I have to be honest. I gotta tell you, my stomach is going. I got the little nervy things going on because one, it's so important to be before you. I don't take that lightly, and I've missed you guys. So it's so great to be back. I know the Lord is going to kiss this episode because when I tell you that I have some phenomenal guests here with me today, you got a taste of them in the announcements. And that's why I just want you to share this because each one of them brings something so very special to the table. And I just cannot wait to get started. So saying that, let me kick off real quick. And I'm going to share some of their bios with you, not all of it, because we're going to talk directly with them and we're going to go over a lot of stuff too. So I don't want to eat up a lot of the time with their bios when we have the live right here with us. Okay. So let me talk to you first about the extraordinary lady that we call Ashley Stevens. She is amazing. And when you hear her start talking, you'll know why. But then when you hear the substance of what she shares, you're going to love her. Because whether she's talking about politics or maybe the latest great Black interest story on the news, or she's engaging with a crowd, or one of her passions, she's emceeing an event or empowering our youth. She is one, honestly, I might be a little bit biased, but talk to somebody else who knows her, they'll tell you the same thing. She is amazing. She is a TV host, a national radio show host, and she is from, dare I say, the South Kakalaki. Is that what they say? I'm gonna bring her up so she can keep me company while I introduce all the other extraordinary guests. But help me welcome Lady Ashley to the platform, everybody. Hey, sis, how are you?
No, I am awesome. I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. Happy
Oh,
Sunday. Happy Arise and Shine to you.
thank you. Thank you. You just made it a little bit brighter. So I so appreciate having you. There are guests that come on that light up the room. And I saw you do that when I did an event with you for our buddy Arcavius. And you guys know he's been on the show before. He's absolutely amazing as well. But let me tell you, he handed the mic over to this young lady, pretty lady that was walking around checking on people. So I knew she was important. And Ashley got on the stage and about knocked everybody out. And she continued to do it through the day. So, if you're looking for an event MC, I'm going to shamelessly plug her right now in case she doesn't, because your people will be motivated throughout the event to be engaged in everything that you have going on there. So I hope I did you justice, sis, because I was impressed. I really was impressed.
I appreciate that more than you know. I do. I don't take opportunities for granted to be able to have the mic in my hand, whether it's MC or moderating or speaking to teens. And I'm grateful to do it. And if somebody's moved and impacted for the better, then glory be to God because of it. Because it's not me. It is beyond me. Thank you.
Thank you're so welcome. Mm-hmm. You're so welcome. Thank you guys for sharing this broadcast. It's only going to get better and better. I want to bring up, and you just met her, Ashley. She's phenomenal as well. And honestly, this is the first time I've truly engaged with us. But we probably share some distant, several generations away DNA because we're both Latinas. And she is amazing. Mishka Kimball. She is a licensed therapist for family therapists. She has the nerve to also, on top of that, when I saw this Mishka, I was like, what? She's a college professor. So she teaches college and she's a coach. She's a transformational coach, not only to her clients, but she brings on other coaches, especially other therapists, and helps them not only to transform their lives, but their business. as well as being an author. So, Mishka, I hope I did you justice, but I would love to bring you up on the platform. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me here, Dr. Tanya. I'm so excited.
Oh, me too. Me too. It's great to have you. I'm left off one thing, and girl, we're going to talk about this. You are an empath.
That's right.
So, like basic understanding for me, if I were to take a stab at that, it says empath and HSP. So you carry the skill, blessing to be able to sense and absorb what other people are feeling. Is
That's
that
correct.
right?
Yes. So both a highly sensitive person and an empath, which they're very, very similar and share a lot of the similar traits, but exactly that. It's a higher sensitivity to our environment and to be able to also feel in my soul and in my body what other people might be experiencing around me. Not just people, but sometimes animals or just nature, or just the environment, the world. So yes, you
Wow.
can feel a lot, and it is definitely, as you said, Ashley, beyond me. You know, it is a gift that I have received from above. So
Mhm.
um, it's not me, definitely.
Yeah, that and that's awesome. I love that you give credit where credit is due. I appreciate that because that's where we all get our goods from. I see you nodding, Ashley. Are you familiar with empaths? Have you ever um interacted with one before or
I'm
know
sure that
about it?
I'm familiar with it. I would love to hear much
Okay.
more about it because I'm always curious for people that have that gift. Is if you ever feel heavy, like carrying what other people, what you're sensing, what they're going through, and it feels like
Right.
a heavy assignment, and it's one you probably can't easily shake. It's you have a
Mhm.
sense of what's happening, but yeah, I think I've encountered empaths as well who knew there might have been something happening with me at a certain moment, and they were able to approach me, and it wasn't offensive. It wasn't scary. It's just it's their
Yeah,
sense. It's
yeah,
and they're usually on the mark. So I'm definitely
yeah,
eager to hear more about it, Mishka.
Yeah, me too. I
absolutely.
really, really am. So I'm looking forward to talking about it. Now, y'all, I'm about to embarrass this next lady. First of all, I had the pleasure of meeting Mishka because of her, right? So, if I were to put down, did you guys see on the invite that like I ran out of space for all the stuff that goes under her name? I left off some stuff for both of you too, now that I look at it. But this one right here, Lady Sean Lorraine Brinkley, I'm gonna tell you, that list. Oh Lord. So I'm gonna try and conquer some of it. But from a friend perspective, I will tell you she's about one of the most magnetic and just dedicated, loyal. She cares for you in a way that a true friend, really should care for you. And she touches base when she doesn't hear you, especially if you're so called one of the strong ones. But she could be hurting and not even tell you that she just wants to make sure that you're okay. And she's always been that way from day one. We did a book project together and we're attached ever since then. But she's a licensed family marriage therapist. She's a performance coach, a speaker, a trainer. And I mentioned an author. She has her own practice, as does Mishka in California, and does group practice as well. Um, Now she's added podcaster to this list of things as if she didn't have enough to do, right? So I want to bring this beautiful woman, the beautiful soul of a woman, up on the platform so she can say hello to you guys.
Hello
Hey, Sean.
from sunny Cali.
Oh, don't show off. Don't show. We have our own son today, don't we, Ashley? We have a little son today.
Good, good. Well, you guys have nice weather too.
Yeah, we do. We do. It is
Thank
so great to have you guys. Welcome.
you for having us here. This is great. I'm so excited to be in a conversation with these beautiful women and yourself.
Yes, we have a lot of folks joining in to say hello. and welcome. You know, this is going to be good because when I looked, and this is where I want to start us off. When I looked up the word, because we use words so freely, we never really go back to say, am I using it in the right context? We just figure we know what it means and we keep it moving, right? But most people, when I looked up resilience, most people really just use this word. They never really go back, right? But it says it's the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, a level of toughness, the ability of a substance or object to spring back at, and I would say in this case, people to spring back into shape, to have a level of elasticity. And that, I haven't looked at that definition for a while, but I would love for each of you to speak on what does resilience mean to you, and what makes you think, or when you saw the title, Call Me Resilient, what did it bring to you? Ashley, you want to kick us off? What did that bring to you?
Sure. I think we probably each all have our own, personal and professional stories of resilience. And
Yes.
I'm glad that you kind of gave the definition about it. I wrote some of this down, the capacity to, recreate qualities from, oh goodness, I can't even read my writing now, but a level of having that elasticity,
Yes.
bouncing back is what I think about. And I think that we're each equipped, whether or not we know it, with the tools to bounce back.
Yeah.
And the thing about being resilient is you don't know it. You may not know that you are or how resilient you are until the time and the test comes.
Oh, say
I
that.
think that's the thing about resilience.
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of people, you can throw words out there, you can say words, and a lot of stuff sounds good. Oh, she's resilient, or that's a qualifier or a quality trait. But genuinely, you may not know how resilient you are until the time, the task, and the test comes. I can personally speak to that, just dealing with chronic illness over the years, and that impacting, some day-to-day functions, career functions, missing school, missing work, not having a diagnosis for 25 years until I was finally diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, which by that time I was, my late 30s, and told that natural conception probably wouldn't happen for me. And hearing things like that, is pretty devastating in the sense that
Jarring.
It's very jarring, given it took so many years and so many misdiagnoses to get to that point. But I'll say the resiliency of it is, well, what can you do? Thankfully, I'm still here. I can keep living. The bounce back that is, I have the information. So now what can I do with it to create a path forward instead of staying stuck or feeling like I'm in a place of being stuck and down or depressed and not being able to really move forward. So resilience is it's a verb, it's an adjective, and it's one of those, like I said, that you'll know how resilient you are when you have to live through it.
Absolutely.
That is so true. It's so true. You don't really know how much you can stretch until you get stretched, right?
That part.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Sean, have you been stretched? Talk about that word, honey, because we probably could talk a few days, all of us together. We could fill up a couple days of a show, right?
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you said that particular word, Ashley, and now you, Tanya, because the idea of being stretched, I think, really helps people to understand what resilience looks like, because we talk, if you bounce back, but you bounce back. There's a difference from bouncing back from here and a difference of bouncing back when you've really been stretched. And I think that, just listening to what you said, Ashley and Mishka, just backstage, you were talking about some things. Sometimes we don't understand any of it. And so, yes, you learn that you are resilient. I look back as an adult now, and I look back even on my childhood, I was resilient as a kid. You know, I grew up in a 2-parent household with 2 lovely, lovely parents. I'm so grateful for Gene and James. Thank you, God. Because I'm a little different and quirky, and they got me in a way that was amazing. As a therapist, I've met people who are just as wonderfully quirky, but didn't have what I had in that regard. But even having that, I had to be resilient. Just crazy things. At 6 years old, I ran outside to meet the paper boy, and he didn't see me, ran me over with his bike. I mean, come
Oh
on.
my Lord.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I can laugh about it now. But then, you know, when you go back and you look at all, I think it's definitely a connection to God, girl. And I know you all are. I think it's definitely a connection to God. But when I even go there and I think about resilience, I think about Job. Like that is to me resilience. It's the ability to bounce back, but you also bounce back in a way that serves you.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Because you could bounce back in a way that did not, and then you would keep the cycle of having to be resilient. Because resilience sometimes can be like survivorship. you know? Yes.
That's
Benicia said hi.
Yes. That puts a spin on it. Definitely. When you think, I mean, did you think about what she just said? When you bounce back to something that serves you? Because I think sometimes we come back the way other people expect us to be, or because we're supposed to do something.
Yes.
As opposed to coming back in a position that serves you well. And of course, it serves the king well, because you're honoring the purpose that he placed in you.
Right.
And some folks are people pleasers. They do, you know, I had some of that too. Coming from a big family, you just constantly want to make sure everybody's okay. But you have got to come back in a way that serves your purpose. That's extraordinary, Sean. I really like that. Mishka, talk about what you think about when you hear resilience.
Absolutely. And Sean Ray, you said it. It's a connection to God. I love that you said that, because that's what I think about, is where my resilience comes from, my strength or my ability to bounce back and overcome what happens, is that connection to God. And for me also is a connection to my ancestors and their resilience. Because as a Latina, my family, they've immigrated due to war. They have lost everything. They have had to start over again from nothing more than one time, you know, and just the devastation and the loss that they experienced, but how they never gave up and how they worked so hard and how they continued moving forward with their faith to give my generation the best that they could. And so that's where I also get my resilience from. My strength is my ancestors, my family, and following their example.
Yes. Mishka, you're gonna make me shout, girl.
Yeah, you know, she is. That's one easy way to start snotting up, I tell you, for lack of a better word. Because when you think about what has been done and the shoulders that you stand on, there's no way you can't get emotional about that. Right, Ashley? I mean, how can you not?
Yes. How can you not? You know, I think I like what Mishka said is, you know, the connection to God. I hope my audio isn't delayed here.
No, you're fine, sweetie.
Okay. It's hard not to be emotional, because I think sometimes we all may think there's a certain trajectory or a path that we're on, or an end goal that we have. And then here comes the hurdle or the stumbling block, and it throws you off. And then you think that the end goal can't be there. when I think
Right.
resilience, particularly purposeful resilience, teaches us that maybe the end goal isn't what you wanted it to be. Maybe God has something
Right.
better, and the path is just not going to be linear. And maybe the end goal isn't going to, you're not going to get there how you envision you were going to get there, but I'm still going to take you through some things that are going to get you to
Right.
where you're supposed to be. So I think the end of where you're supposed to be sometimes doesn't match up with what we think we want. And then there's a whole lot of emotions tied up in that in itself.
Yeah.
Right. So I
Mhm.
think that the resiliency isn't sometimes just a one-time, here's a tragedy that happened and you got to come back from it. Sometimes resiliency, she talked about Job. This went on for years and
Yes.
years and years and years.
Yes,
These
ma'am.
resilient moments are happening all across time. So that somehow at the end of this, when we're in the thick of it, we can't see what the end goal will be. There's still some portion of this, or what really all of us intended, that God will get a glorious moment out of it.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
that, I mean, it's always easier, feels good going through it.
Right.
But the
No.
resiliency is more than
It's
just a
not.
one-time moment. It can be happening moment after moment after moment. And it's how you choose to respond to it in the midst of it that can make all the difference in terms of how you hold yourself together emotionally. I personally
Yes.
attest to that.
Love
That
it.
is so true. Eloquently put. Sean, go ahead. I know you wanted to share something.
Oh, I was just all in
No.
what I was saying. I was like,
You
yeah,
just in it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
totally. But I can share. I can always share.
Okay. You can go ahead, honey, because I know you can share.
When Ashley said that, it goes on and you're coming to it and you're resilient there, and then I got to be resilient here. Look over here. And it becomes, that's what I mean when I say survivorship. It's almost like, no, I ain't going out like that. You know what I mean? And so it becomes, it's habit forming. That is what I am trying to say. It is habit forming. Because I think that once you've done it, then it increases your faith. It increases everything, because you can see, whoa, that was no small thing that I just pulled up out of with the help of God. But so it's like, okay, that old thing, I don't think it's in the Bible, but if he brought you to it, he'll bring you through it.
Come on now.
So then you think about that and you're like, okay, here we go. That happened. And you're here. And so something else might be coming and you'll still be here.
Right.
Yeah. And if I can add.
Yeah, please, Misha, go ahead.
I think it's also, this whole process, as things keep happening and get thrown at us, it's also a process of acceptance, right? And surrendering and trust. And I think the more that we're able to accept what happens, even though we don't like it, we don't want it, but the more we fight it, the more we suffer. Versus once we are able to really accept it, like, this is what's happening, what's out of my control, what's in my control.
Yes.
Once I stop fighting it, I can move through it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All I can say to that is a glorious yes, because that surrender piece, I mean, you hit everything. Benicia just said a few minutes ago, she talked about the fact that trust is key, because you're putting it all out there. Well, when you said surrender, that's what putting it all out there means. You've got to have that trust and the faith. And if you don't have that, you won't surrender. And some of us say, oh yeah, I trust you, I believe, Father God, but then we take over, or we snatch back that prayer. By the time we get back to our seat, what we put on the altar is back in our purse again, because we never really gave it up.
Yes. I love that.
I would love to speak to that. Mishka said this is about a process of acceptance. Sorry, I've been writing notes down. And Sean said, you have to realize, even though things continue to come up, I'm still here. So when I think about even just personal situations with, illness, or things that happen in career over the years, or things that have impacted my voice, which is my professional, that's my professional role. I think I want to bounce back to those 2 points. The process of acceptance. again, is not always something that can happen overnight.
Yeah.
I think when, and I can personally speak to, like I said, when I received my first, my diagnosis for advanced stage endometriosis in the summer of 2019. On one hand, part of it was a relief to say, okay, now there's an answer to my pain. For all of these years, I've missed school, missed work, had debilitating pain, the migraines, the bloating, the, just not feeling good and not being able to accept, was this what womanhood is supposed to feel like, right? So that process of acceptance took some time. Then to Sean's point, I'm still here, right? I think that's something I struggled with is, yes, I am grateful. I have life. Each day I wake up is still a new opportunity to, to move forward. But what I was struggling with was anxiety and depression. Me being still here and grateful for a new day and opportunity didn't mean that I was here in the present, because my mind was always fixated on, okay, now I've got an answer to 25 plus years of pain. So part of me was still stuck in, okay, now I look back, all these surgeries, all these illnesses, all these things added up to the diagnosis. But in the future, I'm always thinking, well, now what does this mean for maternity, for motherhood, for all the things that I desire? So I'm physically here, but my mind state was never present. I was still very much fixated on the future that does not yet exist. So I fully say to you all and to anyone listening that therapy was a great tool for me to help me move through. A therapist said, you can't focus on tomorrow. It doesn't exist yet. You can't mind in situations that don't exist yet. So just wrapping up on their point, I'm still here in the process of acceptance. Being here physically and moving through each day is one thing, but mentally and emotionally, you have to accept that the present moment is the gratitude and the blessing we've been given, because nothing else beyond that.
100%.
Nothing else beyond that.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes. 100%.
You and I are jumping all over that. Go, Mishka.
Yeah, it's like 100%. It's not easy. It's not going to happen, overnight. It is a process, and sometimes it can be a long process. In therapy, we got 2 therapists here, Jean-Laurent and I, and we're all for it. And even me as a therapist, I do my own therapy. Got to work on our own mental health, and as we go through things too, we're human. We also need to work on ourselves. So, absolutely, it makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I had a person tell me once, said, like, when I shared a client that I'm not going to be able to do it at that time. That's my therapy time. And she was like, "You go to therapy?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, how can you help me when you're all messed up?"
Yeah. Wow. Please answer that, because there's people talking about that. Please answer that.
I was like, "Well, that's exactly why I can help you." I said, "Let me just give you a word of advice for the future. Never go to a therapist that doesn't have a therapist, or a coach that doesn't have a coach. Come on now."
Yes.
Because how do you think? First of all, I actually, I have a funny story. I started therapy once a long time ago when I lost my mother. And I thought that I would take care of everything in Ohio and got everything done and took care of the estate and came back, dropped that suitcase on Wednesday, Thursday morning. I was at work. I was ready to go. And I got that job because when the question was asked, we have a specific kind of clientele. They're privileged. They're entitled. How are you when someone like that insults you? And I said, like water off a duck's back, I let it roll. And the woman said, "You're hired," right? I came back there. Stuff wasn't rolling. It was getting stuck somewhere right here. And I literally, one day a man called me something that I just could not be, and I lost it. And I told him, "I'm out of here." I went to my doctor, and my doctor said, "Do not return. Go home, get in the bed." And at that point, I was off a couple of weeks. And then she said, "You need to stay off. In order for you to continue to be off, you need to be on medication." And as I say this, I am not anti-medication at all. But at that time, I was like, I'm not taking that stuff. But I did go to a psychiatrist.
Sean, that's real talk for real.
Every time I came to him, this is what he said: "How's medicine working for you?" And I said, "It's not working." Of course, now it can't work if you don't swallow the pill. But he would only just write it and up the dose. But I went to a therapist, somebody to talk
Mm.
to. I still wasn't ready. I finessed her in a way that I am so embarrassed as a therapist today. But when I decided to become a therapist, immediately we do something called a practicum, right, Mishka? So that's, you're still in school, but you got to get these hours in to graduate. And when I started my practicum, that same week I started therapy. Because we're containers.
Yeah.
We are containing other people. We're down with OPP, other people's problems. I don't know if anybody out there remembers that. but
Yeah.
as we're holding space, who's going to hold space for us?
Yeah.
And so I appreciate and applaud you, Ashley, for seeking that help and getting that help and continuing to, to plow through that with someone, because it's not a job for, just you.
A light of heart.
Right. There you go.
It really isn't. Ashley, did you want to add something to that one?
I did, and it's just a moment of being very candid because maybe it'll help someone else.
Yes,
Sean, I appreciate that, and the reality is, I had a therapist that I would see, once or twice a month, leading up to that, big surgery where I finally got this diagnosis. But after that, I completely broke down, and I realized that I wasn't okay, because that was pretty traumatic news to hear when you're single and 2 weeks from your 37th birthday. It's not like you're 20 and you can make decisions about what may happen the rest of your life. It's kind of later in life when they consider it, older. What do they call it? Geriatric maternity, different things like that. Like there's different things. I've heard the term. There's different things to consider when I'm like, okay, I'm close to 40 now and I'm just now hearing this. What can I do from here? So just being candid is that I knew that the monthly or the weekly therapy sessions were not enough. I looked into a program, an inpatient program that would take me every single day, and I found one. So I actually checked out of work for several weeks to go every day. I didn't have to stay overnight because thankfully I wasn't having, and I know this may be triggering, I wasn't having any suicidal thoughts, which I'm grateful for. And I know a lot of people do struggle with that. But I was able to drive myself every day to this treatment center for anxiety and depression because I needed to find ways to cope. Again, we're talking about being here and accepting the process. I needed to find ways to navigate through this because this was such jarring information to me. And I thank God I had coworkers who at the time, they would see the moments that I was sick. They would drive me home. They would know when I was in my office with a terrible migraine, not feeling well. They donated their sick leave to me so that I could have the time off.
Wow.
What I didn't even realize at the time is that this was covered by my insurance. Would not have ever known it. Sometimes you don't have resources available to you, so you go look for them. So I was very, very grateful for that. And also having a supportive system. One of my dear friends at the time, she kept encouraging me. She said, Ashley, the best thing about what has happened, though, I know you're not happy with the outcome of the diagnosis and what this means, but she said, you have the information. Now you have options. Take this information, go see different doctors, go see fertility specialists, definitely get back in touch with your therapist for the regular routine. Like, don't ever think that you don't have options, because the minute that you don't is when you feel powerless and you feel like there's nothing at your disposal to help you move through this situation. So just saying, for anybody out there that thinks you just need to step away, or, you mentioned, Sean, you were out of work. I mean, I never have left a job for any reason. Like, I have to work, even if I'm not feeling well, I got to be there. And I did it. Right. And I was proud of myself for making my mental health at that time, as I was also recovering from surgery physically, that was my priority for the first time in my adult life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. I would say one of the therapists, you guys can jump on that one, because I commend you, Ashley, for sharing that, because there's someone sitting right now. I know for me, I went through this whole period of being sick, and knowing that if I waited too long, but then I got caught up in my work and the time passed. And so I was torturing myself because I didn't move quick enough to remedy or do whatever I needed to do so that I could have my own child. And I turned around and that window had closed. So had I not had somebody to talk about why I was angry about that and internalizing it, because I never shared it with anyone, I just looked up and it was too late. So to me, one of you talk about, having some place to take stuff that you're dealing with is so important.
Mhm.
It is. I mean, it really is. I think that, we're not meant to be going through everything alone. We're not islands, right? We need that human connection to help us also through our healing. And we need someone to help us process things, like I think it's a different thing when we can talk to ourselves or like journal or just, pray. But we also, yeah, we need Jesus, but we also need someone, right here on this earth that we can talk to, who can understand us, who can talk to us, um, and help us dig deeper sometimes, right? And help
Yeah.
us with that process of acceptance. And to
Mm.
me, being a therapist, it really is an honor, and it's a sacred space. It really is a sacred space where clients come in and they share everything, right? Like the deepest, the darkest, the hardest, or they can be the most raw, open, and vulnerable. And that's what
Yeah.
we need, right? We need
Mhm.
that safe space, that sacred space to move through our and heal our wounds through our
Mhm.
wounds, um, and for me, it's also the combination of having God in your life, right? And sometimes you need medication. Sometimes, you need medicine. It's a combination sometimes. I tell my clients sometimes, therapy sometimes is not enough. You might need to also see your doctor. You might also need to take your medication. Or there are things you might need to do for yourself, right, in your
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not easy. That's the
No.
thing too.
Yeah.
It's not easy. So we don't, going through it alone is way, way harder. It's still hard when you're doing it with someone such as a therapist, but you have that person that's kind of like holding you and being there with you, and holding that hope for you, holding that faith with you, makes
Yeah,
a big difference, in how we can help each other.
100%. If I can,
Yeah.
if I can just piggyback on something you're talking about the medication, and so that was then when I refused to take the medication. But I was teaching MFTs like Misha and I are students at a college here in California, and my class was called Culture, Attachment, and Trauma. So I was like, okay, we're going to talk about the difference between ADHD and the disruptive behavior disorders. Get out your DSM 5s. I'm going to write the criteria on the board. So they gave me number one, I wrote it down. They gave me number two, I slowed down a little bit. They gave me number three, I was like, and they gave me number four, I was like, oh, that's me.
Oh my goodness
And
gracious.
all of a sudden, my entire life made sense to me.
Yeah.
Every decision I've made, every decision I've not made, every disorganized moment, all of this, I have ADHD. And so I didn't do anything with it. I actually, I went home to my dad's. I went over to my daddy's house and I said, Daddy, I got ADHD. And he goes, baby girl, you ain't got no ADHD. And then my little sister was like, yes, she does. And then I went out to the car and got the DSM-5 and read it to my dad. My dad was like, oh yeah, baby girl. Yeah, yeah. You got that. You got that bad. So,
Oh my God.
Thanks, man.
but I speak
Appreciate you.
I speak out about it because yes, I'm a therapist. And yes, as you mentioned, Tanya, I do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Part of that is ADHD. But I call it my superpower. And I want to help kids and parents understand what that looks like. And
What your
yes, I
superpower
still
is.
feel every single day because
Yes.
no amount of mindfulness, I'm a trained mindfulness professional. No amount of mindfulness, meditation, sleep, none of that. It calms my brain down in the way that is functional for my life.
Mm.
And so I am studying now more and more about, they have a new name for these things. They always come up with new names. So
Yeah. Yeah.
neurodivergent. I'm happy to say
Mhm.
I am neurodivergent. And
Okay.
I want
Same.
to do something about Black and neurodivergent. because then we can understand Black and brown, Mishka, because then we can understand how Black and brown children are treated in the school system who are neurodivergent. So autism, being on the spectrum, is neurodivergence. Certain levels of anxiety is neurodivergent. And so
Empaths.
yeah, empaths. People get punished for your who you are-ness. And it's just not okay. So there's so much more that we keep learning and learning. And I am happy to be able to dig in deeper, to know more about myself so that I can help other people like myself.
That's the key. Yeah. And that's huge because there's so many people out there, you know, like Ashley's taking notes. I'm sure there are other people that are watching now that are taking notes going, holy cow, maybe I need to look into this, because I think someone mentioned it earlier. And when you were talking, all I thought about was the rubber band getting longer and longer and longer till, you know what, if you don't look into some things, if you don't find a Sean or a Mishka in your life, if you don't have a good sister girl like an Ashley and a Tanya, that rubber band's gonna pop.
Speak.
Yeah.
It's gonna pop. And when it does, it's going to be 10 times harder. When we were talking about, like I said, the show is a comeback and it's a strong comeback. We were talking about coming back from something happening and you being in a way that it serves you well. You haven't popped. You're still expanding, right? Yeah. But you're hoping to utilize it well. But if you just keep going and going and going, and it's gonna pop.
Yes.
That's gonna be a huge mess that you may not come back from.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really want to say to everybody that's watching this, even right now or on the replay, listen for yourself. Listen for yourself. If you hear something that resembles you, guess what? You have benefits like Ashley said, you may not even know you have, right? And so you explore that in your private time and have a consultative session with somebody if you're not ready to commit yet. But you would be, as a person that has grown immensely from therapy, you will be surprised the impact that it's going to have on your life to be able to put this somewhere, as well as your prayer journal, right? Mishka has a journal out. I'm about to put a journal out. You know, as well as your prayer time, because he knows the end of the story. But if you're not connecting with him, then your rubber band's going to pop a whole lot sooner than it should.
Yeah.
We don't want any of that going on. So Daddy is the first stop. He is the absolute first stop. Father God, guide me. Even as you're looking, you decide to make that major decision. You haven't shared it with anybody, but you're like, you know what? I need to find a therapist and I need a coach too. But I don't really want to talk about it because I'm just digesting the fact that I might be doing this. And so you're looking up some names. Ask him to guide you. That's right. Ask him to point you towards the person that's for you.
Yeah.
Because you just going willy-nilly and making a decision on your own is what got you looking up everything to begin with. Right? So you got to have some faith and trust in him.
Yeah.
Ashley, I know you. What'd you say?
I love that term, willy-nilly.
Well, also sometimes though, I think we put it all on God and forget that it's also on us, because
that's good,
right? Because a lot of times I hear folks say, "Well, I go to church, I pray, I got God in my life, I got Jesus, I don't need therapy." But guess what? Sometimes you do. Absolutely. And it's okay to have Jesus and go to therapy.
Absolutely. You know what I say, Mishka, when people say that, y'all, I say, well, God made therapists too, y'all. So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just as he equipped.
Hey, girl.
Yeah. No, you're right. And just as he equipped, folks to have the knowledge and the wisdom to be medical doctors. Like every time we go and have someone touch our bodies in any way, cut us open, look in our ears, and or even touch our hair to do our hair. Like there's people that have different gifts to do these things, and we entrust them the same way we should be just as open to the therapy piece. And Tanya, there's something you mentioned about, God has to be the first that, that we go to. And Mishka, you said you got to do your part. The faith without the works, we got to do the works.
Yes,
if not, it's dead.
Yeah.
And I'll say for me, I struggled with, like I said, the period where I had to literally check myself in for a few weeks, where my mental health had to become the priority. I was struggling with my faith. Why would God create me as a woman to be a giver of life, and now you tell me that might not happen? Right. And it's so I very, very, very much struggle with that. So there's a few points I want to, and so the trust piece and the faith piece is also something that may not happen overnight. If again, this resiliency piece, it may take some time to work back through whatever your relationship, like Tanya mentioned, going to God about it, do that more often, write in your prayer journal, be in those things more while you're also seeking the therapy.
Right.
Sean mentioned about I wrote a few notes down, the medication. I would encourage anybody to listen, don't dismiss any options for medications. And I know there can be religious or cultural taboo around it. There was someone that I knew that had gotten a diagnosis for bipolar disorder. And one of their parents said, we will, whatever you need to do, I want to support you, even if that's, the psychologist or the therapist and the medication, let's do it. And the other parent was adamantly opposed and said, we're going to go and pray this thing through. We're going to pray this thing away. We're not going to do the medication. I thought, you know what, at a certain point, again, God, there are resources here that can help us. I'm not saying, people find what works for them. Maybe it's traditional medical sense. Maybe there's something like acupuncture. Maybe there's something herbal. Like maybe there are other solutions to look into, but I would just encourage anybody not to completely write it off, because as Sean mentioned, it could just, there are things that can just help you function on a day-to-day basis. And there's nothing wrong with that. That helps you to, again, it's just one of your options so that you don't feel stuck in those moments where you receive some news or receive something, you feel like, how am I going to move through this? No, I don't want to do the medicine. You may not know how much more beneficial your quality of life can be if you're just open to at least trying what the doctor says.
That's so true. Guys, that it's really powerful. Thank you for writing those notes down, because it's bringing back some really good points. And I have to be honest, through the time that we've all talked and brought up different aspects of this, Mishka, I've been thinking, she's a therapist, so she's seeing other folks, but just walking to get, I'll put us in New York for a minute, just walking to the corner to get a coffee and a bagel, you have experienced walking past people and picking up stuff, going to grab lunch, or having a conversation with someone in the supermarket turns into, oh my God, she's suffering with this. And I can feel that. What we've been talking about this whole time is enough to carry. So can you just share with us how this gift, and I want to see it as a gift that God has given you, how has that impacted your life?
Oh, yeah. So I'll start with sharing. For those that don't know, that I am an empath. And what an empath is a sensitive soul, someone who can sense and feel what other people are experiencing. And there are different types of empaths. So for me, I am what's called an emotional and also a physical empath. So that means that I can feel others' emotions and energy, but I can also feel their physical pain in my own body. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that growing up. So similar to Sean Lorraine, where I went to, I was at a therapy group actually when I was a student. Or this was already, I'm an adult, and all my life I had no idea that I was an empath and why things sometimes happen to me. And there was a girl in the group who was an empath, and she starts describing all her experiences and calling herself an empath, and she's saying one thing and another thing, and I'm like, that's all me. And so I start talking to her, and she looks at me and she's like, immediately like, oh yeah, you're an empath, you have the gift. And once I started learning, it was like, oh, now everything makes sense. Now my whole life makes sense. When I was little, my mom I love my mom, but she would say like, you're kind of a hypochondriac because like you're not sick, but why are you always saying that you're sick or you're feeling this or you're feeling that, but it's not you. It's another kid that was sick, or it was your
Wow.
cousin, or it was your brother. It was, but you're feeling it, and we didn't understand why that was. So, actually, you said before, it could be heavy, and absolutely it can be. It is. I know that it's a gift from God, and at the same time, it is something that if we don't know we have it, then we have no way to manage it. We have no way to protect ourselves. But once I learned what I am and who I am, then I was able to develop more of the resiliency and the boundaries to protect myself, to protect my energy. To
Mhm.
also, it's a process of what we call differentiation, of being able to
Mhm.
separate me from others, and the intentional, also the intention of what's mine, what's not mine, what I'm supposed to carry, what I'm not supposed to carry. So
Mhm.
it was a long process. I'm gonna be very transparent. When I started as
Mhm.
a therapist in practicum, I got really depressed. I was feeling it all. I was feeling anxious. I was feeling all the feelings, and I didn't know how to separate them. So it
Wow.
took a lot. It took me going through my own therapy. Um, Also, I went to see a psychiatrist, and I
Mhm.
got myself on medication because I was diagnosed with depression, and I needed to treat it. And I've been seeing my psychiatrist for years now. So really,
Mhm.
it's about putting my mental health first too, taking care of it so that I can help others, and it's also being able to separate what's my pain, what's not my pain,
Mm.
right? So
Wow.
I could feel it, but
Yeah.
now I don't keep it. I'm able to let it go, or I'm able to ask myself, who is this that this isn't mine. And if it's a client of mine, I might ask in session, and sometimes it's like it freaks them out a little bit, but I might be like,
Mhm.
are you feeling this and that? And they're like, how did you know? I'm like,
Right.
because I can feel it.
Hmm.
But it allows for me, it's like a deeper connection also
Mhm.
that I can make. So that's where I see the gift. It's a deeper
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
It's a deeper understanding. Sometimes it's also like warning signs. So I might have dreams of things that haven't yet happened, and I know that's God kind of showing me what's
Yeah.
to come, so so I can prepare. And if someone's willing to listen to me, I will share, and they can prepare too. Other times I just might sense great things that are happening to someone.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've always been able to sense is when a woman is pregnant, and immediately I can sense, like, I just look at them, and I'm like, I already know. Like, I don't know how many people I've been able to say that to. And you know changing a little bit, but Ashley, I wanted to say that I appreciate so much you sharing your story and being so vulnerable and brave. And you even helped me today because I've also struggled with the same thing, having endometriosis and trying to have a baby for now 16 years with my husband, and
Wow.
it not happening. Um,
Look at God.
and
Look at God.
and that whole process of accepting and it being
Mhm.
painful, right? And not being easy, being devastating.
Yeah.
And as an empath, it gets intensified as well. But again, it's about taking care of you, taking care of your mental health. It's about trusting and protecting yourself.
Mhm.
You
Wow.
know, I protect myself with light. Like if I'm going, let's say, down the street, and I'm gonna encounter a lot of people, I ask God, protect me. I'm not gonna absorb anything that is not for me to
Ooh.
absorb.
That's
Mm.
so good, Mishka, and we should
Ooh.
all do that.
Yes.
Hmm.
I understand why you would say that prayer, but that's a prayer that we should all do, and we don't do regularly. If you're
Yes.
walking into a new place or
Mm.
even a familiar place, sometimes you have to protect yourself from things that may get in your space, or that you will absorb in your soul and your spirit. And then you go in with one thing and walk out with 10 more. So
Right.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that is so powerful.
Yeah.
You have to do
Thank
that.
you.
And
Yeah, and we need it for our body too. I mean, I would feel pain in my back sitting next to someone who just had back surgery. So,
wow.
you know, yeah. So, I also ask God, protect me so my body doesn't take on, pain from other,
Ailments.
or even like illness, because
Yeah.
we absorb energy. There's energy all around us. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I so appreciate your sharing your story around this and clarifying it as a woman of God. Because
Yes.
I think
Yes.
so many times we become afraid of that kind of power, and then people will dismiss it as charlatan, or all of
Sorcery.
other things and wizardry and all of that. And it's so not. It's such a gift from God. And why would God give me this kind of gift where I feel other people's pain? Because it's always not about us.
Yeah.
In the whole thing, it's like, I'm going to protect you, but this is your gift and you get to use it. Do you know what I mean?
And we can't forget the greatest empath ever.
Hello.
Who's our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Hello.
Wow.
That was the greatest empath ever.
And it's a superpower.
Said that, I'm assuming this so that you won't have to even experience it. And his tears were for our future pain that had not yet come. Were his tears. The blood that was spilled. So I see it the same way, Sean. I 100% agree with you. The gifts and us opening our mind, but most importantly, our spirit to recognize, because yes, there are people out there that are empaths. I believe they don't even know that they are. They have unexplained things that have happened that they knew were going to happen. I've been called apostle several times because I speak things, and then folks will come back and tell me, oh my, that just happened. How did you know? I don't take that lightly. I immediately start praying because I know it's from God.
Wow.
So for him to trust you that much, Mishka, to give you that gift, and for you to cherish it enough to seek wise counsel for yourself, to maintain that gift and constantly look to him to reinforce that counsel, that's the perfect recipe in my book.
Thank you.
Also, if I could just piggyback, I appreciate your educating others, and like the book.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I am one of the first people to pre-purchase that book.
Thank you.
But put the link in the private chat with your IG so I can share it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I want to share this as a shameless plug. So Mishka and I are members, and the way that we met is of an organization called San Fernando Valley. That's where we live. CAMFT, and that stands for California Association of Marriage Family Therapists. And on October 9th, Mishka will be speaking about this very topic.
Okay.
I picked her. And
Yes, you did.
and it's going to be exciting. So I think that the link is up now, isn't it, Mishka?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm going to grab that link and put it in, or I'll give it back, channel it to you, Tanya, to put up too, because yes, we're San Fernando, Cali, but this topic is pertinent to people all over the world, therapists, coaches, curiosity seekers, and all of that. So I think that your audience might benefit from checking it out. And it's going to be hybrid. So you can see from wherever you are, we'll be in person, but you'll see it wherever you are. I'm excited for it.
Thank you, Shanla Ray. Yes, and my book is called The Empath Self-Care Journal. And to me, this is, so I can try to help people beyond the therapy room, the one-on-one, and be able to help someone who maybe isn't ready to be in therapy yet, or is looking to get in therapy, or is just also starting their journey, discovering that they are an empath and want to strengthen the skills and learn how to better set boundaries, protect themselves, and better utilize the gift that
That's
has been given
awesome.
unto us. Well, thank you for
That's
allowing me to
awesome.
speak about this.
Oh, of course. And we weren't gonna I wasn't gonna let you off the hook on that one because it's just so intriguing, and you've done such good sharing and explaining. Ashley, jump in. I know you want to share something.
Yeah, this is Mishka. One, I was nearly moved to tears when you shared that you too are one of our fellow endo warriors. Yellow is the color for endometriosis awareness, and I'll say
Oh, it
what
is.
I think is empowering about what you shared is that even sharing your journey and your gift as an empath is that for so long you didn't know what it was. You took the time to study and figure it out, and now you're able to share that with other people. And the journal, the book is going to help other people who have the same gift. So I think when we think about the spirit of resilience, and again, part of that bouncing back, when you kind of come back together and center yourself, it's that part of not feeling stuck is to empower yourself. I like that
Yeah.
you're helping other people navigate through this. What I've been able to do, and it took some time, one of my support systems was a group called Endo Black, Endometriosis for Black Women Incorporated. And now I'm a board member. So I
Oh,
proudly,
yes.
gladly talk to other
Awesome.
women, particularly young women and
Awesome.
particularly women of color, about, well, what are the signs? What are the symptoms? Where can you get treatment? Where can you get help? And a lot of it is just emotional support, just knowing that you're not the only one going through this pain. So I liked how you have shared with everybody how you didn't stay stuck and you turned what was happening to you in your purpose. And in my case, the pain into some purpose,
Yeah.
right? Because it helps you to move through it because there can be other people you're helping move through it. So thank
Yes.
you for that. And there's one other thing I wanted to share as well is I wish you all God's blessings in granting you the desires of your heart. I'll say that I've actually been at a point where over the years I've had so many doctors, and some of them I've chosen intentionally not to go back to because of how they speak to me and how they speak over me. And that's
Yes.
something that I often share when I'm speaking to crowds. If I'm emceeing, especially speaking to teens, I'm big on affirmations and words because biblically we know life and death is in the power of the tongue. We know that even in the
Mhm.
natural sense, however people choose to believe, that there's power in the things that you say. And
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I've had more than one doctor to write in my chart infertile or to tell me that I
Dear
had
God.
infertility. And I said, I don't ascribe to that word. I'm still single. I've never had a chance to try. So I said, I would appreciate if we could reword that and say fertility issues. Patient has
Mhm.
fertility challenges, but putting the IN in front of anything to me makes it sound like it's impossible and that my God is incapable, of which I know he is not. And so
That's
lo and
right.
behold, one of my doctors in my chart says patient does not ascribe to this term, does not have infertility per se. I was like, you're right. Because
Mm.
some people will write you out before you've ever had a chance to start.
Come
Not just
on
with
now, Ashley.
but with
That's right.
whatever gift you're operating in, whether it's something on the job or a talent you've picked up, some people will write you out and cast you down before you've ever thrown the first pitch, put pen to
Yes.
paper to do your book, put paintbrush to easel to draw your first painting. Like some people will count you out. And just what they share with you and speak over you can be so detrimental. So to anybody
Yes.
listening, get around you either your support system, and even spiritually, the things you read, and say to yourself the things that you intake, what you listen to, the movies and the TV you watch, and also even if it's your medical professionals. And I'm not saying that people didn't go to school and get training, and what they're saying doesn't have merit and value. I'm not saying if they tell you need to take your insulin shots, don't take it. I'm also saying do your
Right.
part and don't eat junk food. What I'm saying, but what I am saying is that there are certain things that I choose not to ascribe to just because someone said it.
Right.
I can flip that
Right.
Absolutely.
language. And again, it puts me in the mindset of, okay, it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means maybe there's another avenue. Maybe there's some other possibilities to get to the end goal, right? Maybe there are other ways to look at how I'm going to get there that look different than whatever I thought the traditional path was going to be. And that's also when the
Yes.
faith piece has to come in and increase as well. So thank you, Miss,
Ah,
for sharing. That meant a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
I just love
Yeah.
you, lady. I love you because you made my words that I shared, because I honestly felt that was going to be the case, and God made sure it happened. Like Placida said, the diversity of thought and topic. This has been so enriching, and you've turned around and blessed each other and blessed me. So that could only be a God thing. So I'm just so very grateful. Just so grateful for all of you, for your yes. and I know the replays of this are going to really impact a lot of lives. If you wanted to make a final statement, what would you want people's takeaway to be specifically for you? You want to kick us off? Mishka, you could kick us off.
What would I like for people to, I guess, take away from today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's important to remember your path is your path and it's unique. Don't compare your path to anybody else's. If you don't bounce back as quickly as somebody else, that's okay, because that's your path and at your own pace.
That's right.
And trust in yourself, trust in your God, and also do the work. Do the work, because it's important that we do the work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Great points, Mishka. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me today so much.
Oh, of course, honey. You stuck with me now.
Oh, good.
Hermanas. All right.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Who wants to jump in next?
I'll go.
Okay.
There's one thing I want to say about the idea of resilience, and this is something that I've actually just been studying a little bit more. And Mishka, you, I'm sure, have heard of this, and maybe you too, Ashley and Tanya, but it's called post-traumatic growth. And so we all know about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. When you have something like that, you definitely need your resilience to kick in. But post-traumatic growth speaks to people who don't have that natural capacity for that survivorship or that leap forward and the bouncing back and all of that. It's like, it is the struggle is the post-traumatic growth. So it's not the act of bouncing back per se, but it's the struggle that you go through to get back. And that's called post-traumatic growth. And I think with us talking about the power of words in using and understanding and looking that term up and really going through it, it gives some hope when you're feeling all those things that we talked about that don't look like, happiness and joy and, I'm so glad this happened to me. I'm growing, I'm getting through it and all of that. When those things are away from you, when you can't reach out and grasp that happiness or that, dismissal of the way that you feel, when it's just the truth and it's not I don't feel good. This is not making me happy. I don't love it. Any of that. The struggle that helps you to get back is that post-traumatic growth. It's looking at the richness of life in addition to, not even in spite of, but in addition to understanding that what happened to you, almost like you were chosen for it. And if we believe that God gives us what we can bear and we're chosen for certain things, not for ourselves, but for the growth that we can come through it with, so that we can be that testimony. And so post-traumatic growth is that piece that when you walk away from being resilient, something in you is very different. Your commitment to push that out to the rest of the people who need it. You never know who you may be sitting next to. Like Mishka, if you were sitting next to me today, I'm afraid your back would be hurting because I just had back surgery. So.
Yes, I know.
And you're sitting up to do this.
Yes, but even
I want. No. Go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
Even in that, every time I told somebody, I'm having back surgery on Friday, they'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'd be like, no, it's good. What are you kidding me? It's good. I won't be in pain. And they were like, well, my auntie, and I was like, I'm so sorry for your auntie, but I can't hear that story.
Yeah.
I love your auntie too, boo, but no, I got a different journey ahead of me, and I need to believe that I'm gonna do exactly what they tell me And when I tell you that I have major surgery with a cut in the front and a cut in the back, and moving over my vena cava and my aorta so they could get to my back, and putting in a new disc and closing me up with an incision in the front and the back on Friday, and on Sunday and Saturday morning, she said, "Come on, we're going to walk." I was like, "What?" We walked down the hall several times. Sunday morning, she came and said, "Come on, we're going up the stairs." And I had told my doctor, "I'm going to need a bed downstairs. I have 14 stairs." He didn't pay me no mind, because guess what? I came home, I walk up those stairs to go to bed every night.
Wow.
So that is a God that understands that there are times that you're not going to believe the power of what he can do. And when you get that, therein is your post-traumatic growth. So I thank you, Tanya, so much for doing what you do. Congratulations on being Power Up Podcaster of the Year. You earned it.
Thank you so much. It's because of you guys that think, it just, I'm very grateful. I guess I can put it in 3 words. I'm very grateful. Ashley, what about you? What do you want to say?
I'll say first, we are grateful for you, and congratulations again. I've learned so much. Post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth.
Like, I know, who knew?
But that speaks right to this whole point of resilience that we were getting back to, is that when you're going through something, it doesn't feel good while you're in it. You may not, again, be able to see the end goal because you were expecting a linear path, but God may say it may zigzag, go in the woods, up the valley, down the hill, but you're still going to end up somewhere where I want you to be. So I think that post-traumatic growth piece that's key. That's truly something to keep in mind. My final notes will be wrapping up on what each of these sisters shared earlier. Sean mentioned that even with her therapist, she said, I finessed her. In other words, she was trying to get the therapist to hear only what she wanted her to hear. And we talked a lot about just surrendering and the process of acceptance. I have a good friend, Jay Burnett. He's also a licensed marriage and family therapist and speaks all around the country about healing, specifically for Black men healing. But what he shares is relevant and applicable here as well. He says, you can't heal what you don't reveal.
I love that.
You can, if I say that, being transparent, you can't get through the process of your own healing journey if you just don't first acknowledge it, right? Like I knew for me, I was like, you know what? I need to check out of life for a minute and solely focus on why this diagnosis and what this health news has meant for me, and the dreams that I thought I had for myself, and how some of that shift and may not look like what it was supposed to. But had I just sat there and tried to deal with it on my own, been mad at God, just frustrated at the doctors and blaming the world, I would have just sank myself deeper and deeper and deeper into my own depression. Then you put the pandemic on top of that, where you're spending a whole year, especially for single people, you're home by yourself. And that compounds just all these thoughts, just ruminated thoughts, right? So that'd be my final thoughts. You can't heal what you don't reveal. You can try to run from it, you can hide from it, but if you have a close social circle, they're going to call you out and say, girl, you hadn't been yourself. What's going on? Do you need to get some help? It's okay to get some help. And also on the faith piece, there's only so far you can go if you're very close to God before he's like, look, I mean, I've been here the whole time. What are you going to do? I just waiting for you to come back to me and say you need me, instead of acting like you don't.
Right.
You got it solved and figured out all on your own.
You better say that. You better say that, Ashley. That's what Mishka said earlier. You got to do your part.
That's right.
You got to on us.
Y'all know the story of the boats, right? And when the guy says, the storm comes in, God sends a boat, and the guy says, no, God's going to heal me. He sends another boat. No, God's going to save me. No, God's going to save me. He gets to heaven. Why didn't you save me? God said, I sent you 3 boats. Come on now.
Sometimes the remedy is in front of our face because it's not wrapped up pretty, or it doesn't look like what we thought, or maybe the messenger is different than what we thought. We don't trust it, and we don't receive it, and we don't accept it. But sometimes God has always got stuff around us. And the last thing I'd say, I think about the name of this podcast, Arise and Shine. And the 68th Psalm says, may God arise, may his enemies be scattered, may his foes flee before him. And there was always a song on my mind saying, let God arise and the enemies be scattered. So final note is that I like to focus on the let God arise. I don't even want to think about the enemies or the foes, or that's not where my concentration is. So let God arise, whatever that means for you, whatever that looks like for you, focus on that. Don't focus on the opposition. Don't focus on the enemies. Don't focus on the foes or the trajectory. or the obstacles, it doesn't mean they're not there and you can't move through it, but let God arise. Like for whatever that means in your life, in your journey, let God arise. Thank you so much, Tanya, for having
Oh
me.
my
And
goodness.
ladies, I've
That
so
was
enjoyed
amazing.
being a part of this. I know air
Thank
hugs.
you.
Air hugs for real. This has just been phenomenal, ladies. I want to again say thank you. We went a little bit over, but that's okay in my book because it was well worth it. And I know somebody that really needed to hear this is going to get this on replay. And when you guys share it out and all of it, we're going to bless a lot of people. So that's why I'm in this game. So I thank you. I am going to share a couple words with everybody and close us out. But I bless you all, each and every one of you. Have a good one.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys, wasn't that incredible? Was that not incredible? Did you get notes? And I need you. Yes, this you sending hearts through. Michelle, shout out to Sean. You know, I just don't have any words. And guess what? This is going to continue because we're coming back next week for another episode, right? And every month we're going to have a panel with an extraordinary topic, just like this. So I'll be bringing some great minds together once a month on a special topic to share. And I know you guys saw that little coffee cup in the bottom of the screen there. That is something new we're doing this season called Buy Me a Coffee. So if you find it in your heart to bless this show, that's where you go. buymeacoffee.com/arise and shine. You know how I put the ampersand with the letter N, right? So you just go there and buy the show a cup of coffee. I won't even say buy me. That'll help us keep going and do the things we need to do to be here for you every Sunday, our new time at 3:30. So I love you guys. I want you to have the most incredible week. Be blessed. Be well. Take care.